Hi, everyone. I'm Steve. I'm here with Dr. Jake Covert. Thanks for being here, Doc.
Thanks for having me.
All right, we're going to talk about protein powders. There's so many out there. There's vegan proteins, there's casein, there's whey, there's beef isolate, and it can get confusing. So we're going to talk about what the difference is and what might be the best for you. If you guys are interested in our weight loss program, you want to find out more about it, hit the QR code on the screen or the link in the description, and like and subscribe if you like this stuff. We talk to doctors, nutritionists, personal trainers in our health clubs, which we have multiple health clubs in Northern Nevada. So, Doc, what kind of protein powder do you use? Protein powder?
I do. I use it. I'll use it depending on the situation, essentially. For me personally, I like to stick to an isolate post workout because it's got a higher protein concentration. It's fast digesting, something to kickstart muscle protein synthesis, essentially, quickly right after your workout. So you're not in any sort of catabolic state.
Yeah, and for all of you vegans out there, or people that just like vegan protein, we'll give you some tips on that too, because there is some good vegan proteins, but you got to know what you're looking for in a vegan protein, or you're going to waste your money if you don't know what you're looking for in a vegan protein. And I think anyone who's vegan should be pounding the protein powder and amino acids.
No, I 100% agree, and it can be difficult with your vegan and vegetarian type protein powders because it's once you start getting into those, they'll have a lot more carbohydrates or fats compared to just a normal whey protein powder. So the calories will be going up relative to how much protein that you're getting. So it's something to keep in mind where it's like, yes, you're getting 20 or 30 grams of protein, but how many carbs are you getting from that? I've seen some of these protein powders where it's 30 grams of protein, but you're eating more than that in carbs because it's not the same as essentially a typical animal based whey. So the quality for that is definitely important. But and then going back to even just your animal based, your different types of whey, a lot of companies they'll do what they kind of call it amino spiking essentially. Well, they'll have non essential or essential amino acids that are kind of meant to skew the protein content of it essentially. So like if you'll have ingredients like glycine essentially in it where there's actually no benefit for that inside it other than bumping the nitrogen content. So when they test it, they can list a higher amount of protein, but it's not usable protein for your body for muscle growth essentially.
Yeah, that's a great point because these companies will trick you, if they'll put different amino acids in, you have to know what the amino acid profile is, whether it's vegan or even a whey protein naturally has a solid amino acid profile because it's whey protein. If they put the whey protein in, it's naturally going to have a very solid, one of the best, if not the best, amino acid profile. But I use a isolate, organic beef isolate, grass fed. That's one of the protein powders I use, and I use a whey. But we'll get into that since we're on this vegan protein. Let's start with that, and then we'll kind of go into what you like to use, what I like to use, and when. So the vegan protein, there's a couple good ones out there. I got them in my cupboard. They have the amino acid profile on it. Now, the first thing, because you mentioned it, vegan proteins that are good are going to cost more. The reason is there's not as much protein in vegetables as there is in meat. So they have to use more. And that's probably why you're more carbs and all that, because it's more to get the protein up, and especially to get leucine as that number one amino acid. And leucine has to be the number one amino acid because it triggers everything. So there is a couple good ones. I should have brought them in here. If you have questions about it, put it in the comment section and I'll tell you what those are that have the good amino acid profile. And, I like vegan proteins. They mix well. I use them sometimes. Make sure you get organic also. And the thing with all protein powder is don't get the ones with the bad sweeteners which is almost every single one you're going to buy off the shelf at the health food store, right?
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, going back to that leucine topic as well. I mean, that is so crucial for, again, for muscle building, if that is what your primary goal is. And I think it's 2.5 grams a day around there, essentially what you
At
want to
least,
be
yeah, a serving.
a serving, yeah, exactly, of what you should be aiming for on that. But and yeah, that is a great point. And going back to kind of like the fillers with that, when you look at the amino acid profile, you want to look at the ingredient list. And again, it's listed essentially the first ingredients, the most abundant, all the way down to it'll decrease how much of the content's in it. So always look at the ingredient list and see, hey, what's the first couple ingredients in here essentially? And if there's any non-essential of the amino acid profiles or anything that's like, hey, what kind of is like the glycine essentially, that's kind of your initial red flag that, hey, maybe this isn't the best protein powder.
Yeah, leucine should be the most. And then the next two, it should be about half. Leucine should be 2 to 1 over isoleucine and valine. Those are the 3 branch chain amino acids. After that, you want the other 6, we'll say 6, essential amino acids are important. But that's what you want to look for first. Leucine the most, 2 to 1 over isoleucine and valine, and then the others fill in, make sure they're all there, right?
Yeah, 100%. And I know we had talked about this in the past too, but kind of beware of the proprietary blends essentially on those ingredient lists too. Make sure that they always list out leucine, isoleucine, valine, exactly how much of every single ingredient, because you just have no idea what you're getting when they put those blends on those lists.
Yeah, I'm kind of hesitant of these proprietary. It's a secret. We don't want anyone to come on. Everyone knows what the amino acid profile should be. Shut up. Tell us what you're putting in your product. It's a
Exactly.
cop out.
Exactly. Yeah, it needs to be. Yeah, and that's why having your stuff third party tested and no blends, it's so crucial. So
Right. All right. So tell us what you take and when and why.
I like to take just a whey isolate essentially post workout because I try to get carbs and protein in my system immediately to try to replenish glycogen storages and then try to get muscle protein synthesis started immediately right after the workout. Now, again, the total protein intake throughout the day is going to matter the most and move the needle the most in terms of protein synthesis, but you're not going to do anything to hurt yourself. And if anything, it'll help you to make sure the nutrient timing's essentially kind of optimal in a sense there. A lot of people will they'll differ between a concentrate and an isolate essentially. Whey concentrate is just a little bit less pure, so to speak, less processed than isolate. So it's going to have a lower protein content than your isolate. A little bit slower digesting than isolate, but nonetheless, that can still be a great cost effective option essentially. But yeah, I still prefer to go with the isolates. And then I know you had brought up the casein protein as well. That's kind of a fun one as well because it's a very slow digesting protein. So a lot of bodybuilders will use that before they go to bed essentially because it can take hours to digest. So the whole thought process behind that is when you're going to sleep, you're essentially quote unquote fasting for however many hours while you're sleeping. And so it's meant to be anti-catabolic in a sense where if you have a reserve of protein that's essentially still digesting as you're sleeping, you're going to increase protein synthesis and theoretically, hopefully increase muscle building essentially and reduce muscle loss while you're sleeping and quote unquote fasting.
Yeah, that's a big fad right now. I've been watching a number of doctors talk about that. Casein protein right before you go to bed, no carbs. And, they go back and forth, but that's the fad now. Everybody's, especially for older people, use the casein protein before you go to bed. And it's going to help you maintain muscle. And, but so much of there was just a big study that came out that said, hey, you can eat 100 plus grams of protein and your body's going to use it throughout the day. It's going to synthesize it. You've got 15, 20, 15 to 24 hours that your body's going to use that. So that study kind of contradicts the other studies and the doctors that say, hey, you can eat 100 grams of protein at once and your body's going to use it. Kind of contradicts that. I have been doing, acids. I pound the amino acids. I pound the leucine. with my protein. I had my protein shake today. It was a whey isolate. And you guys go look at, I don't know if I have a promo code or not on this, maybe, but I'm not doing this for that. You guys go look at Pure Nutrition. What I like about it is you can customize your protein. So you can do grass-fed, grass-finished beef isolate. You can do whey isolate. You can do egg white protein. You can do whole egg protein. And they don't put any bad sweeteners in there. And it's custom. You can even spike it with amino acids. So I love that product. I use the beef isolate, the grass-fed. It doesn't mix as well, so I usually put that in a blender and put some blueberries in it. I use the same flavor every time. It's a strawberry banana. But the whey isolate, I can just shake that right up. It mixes perfectly, and I can drink it. It's easy. You know, it's not globbing to the container like the beef will do. So check out that. If you guys can get whatever you want there, because you're going to custom make your protein. You can use vegan protein. You can do a vegan protein, an organic vegan protein, and you can spike it with amino acids. So go check it out. It's an awesome company.
I'm so glad you brought up that study as well about the digestion of protein, because that was huge when that came out, because the long-standing evidence that everyone said is like, oh, you can only eat 30 grams of protein and that's all that you can absorb, which, I mean, it's kind of a hard concept to believe in the first place, but to the literature, that's kind of what it's been for a long time. So that was groundbreaking that they came out with that. So, because there's really no stopping now. It's you can eat as much as you want, your body's going to use and get rid of what it needs, essentially. So that was a really, really cool study. I saw the same.
Yeah, I ate yesterday a pound of chicken breast, 16 ounces, had it for lunch, and let me tell you how much protein that was. That was 141 grams of protein. I met my requirement for the day. You know, for the day I hit 230. I was with my protein shake and all that. And I've been bumping up my protein and it's making a difference. And I think it does, especially as you're older. But it's hard to focus on protein. Go try to get if you don't pay attention, you won't get 100 grams of protein, let alone 200. So you really got to focus. And the protein shakes are great. A simple tip is get one that's all protein, so that you're putting all your money into the protein powder, not other things. But you go look at, health food stores and different stores where they have all these protein powders lined up. The most of them are garbage.
Yeah, no, they really are. And it's, most of them are. But also looking at the bioavailability of the protein, you'd brought up the egg white protein as well, which that's another really good concept, because egg whites are one of the most bioavailable sources of protein that you can eat, essentially. So that's why whole eggs, even just talking about whole eggs in general, the healthy fats, the amino acid profile that you get from those, it's a very quality protein that you can eat.
Yeah, the egg is almost perfect as far as the protein. The only problem is you got to eat 10 of them to get 60 grams of protein.
Mhm.
You know what else is cool is about this Pure Nutrition company is you can mix. You have this little slider and you can say, I want 40% egg white and I want 60% whey protein. That's really cool. So you can go half and half. You can go all whey protein. You can go all egg white, whatever you want. You get to kind of slide that slider over and you can mix two of them, I think. So, you could do a egg protein and half of the whole egg and half is just egg whites. And that's going to, they come in usually at about 30 grams of protein for a serving and 100 calories, 120 calories max. So you're getting a lot of protein in that. You're right about the back then in the day, when I first started training, you weren't even born. It's 30 grams of protein. I didn't believe it back then. I always ate 50 grams. I'm going, how am I going to get 200 grams of protein at 30 grams at a time? That's not reasonable. So I would get 50, 60. We just figured, well, I'm cheating a little bit. I'm getting at least 30 though. But now it's like Yes. And the egg is really the best protein from everything that I've researched and studied. It's to synthesize the protein because of the amino acid profile. Plus, an egg has all the fat soluble vitamins, selenium, all the B vitamins. It's ridiculous. I think the only thing it doesn't have in it is vitamin C.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And just focusing on protein intake, like I said, just kind of looking at this as a whole as well. Protein intake is just so crucial for longevity going forward, muscle mass retention. And you mentioned as you age, you do need more protein because your body's not able to digest essentially as well as it used to. So you're going to be absorbing less of what you eat the older that you get. Focusing the kind of the standard that they have there is 0.8 grams per pound essentially. I like to stick around the one to over that because there was some interesting research that came out where they kind of pushed the limits on that number a little bit. If anything, protein has a higher thermic effect when your body's trying to break it down. So you're just going to be raising your resting metabolic rate the more protein that you eat. So it's really advantageous for you to eat and focus on a high protein diet.
Yeah, you got the high protein camp and you got the you don't need protein. You need 40 grams. But these are doctors and stuff. A lot of them I respect, but the ones that say you need 40 grams, look at them. They don't look the same as the people, men and women, who are saying, eat high protein, eat at least 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight to 1.5 grams of desired body weight. The people that are saying that, the people that are focusing on protein, getting protein at night, just protein, it's funny. You notice how they look different than the people that say 40 grams of protein is plenty?
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Completely different bodies.
Yeah.
It's like, which do I pick? I'm going to go with the protein.
Well, I mean, you can even take a look at the club in Parkway South in the mornings. There's a lot of club members that are 80 to 90 years old, still coming every single morning working out. And I've talked to them. It's every day, it's high protein. That is what they focus on. And they're walking around in here 90 plus years old, killing it. I mean, they look great, they're moving great. And you don't see a lot of 90-year-olds coming to the gym every morning at 5 a.m. doing that. But I mean, the proof's kind of there for it, right? You're seeing them every day.
They're pounding the protein. And the last thing I'll say is, as you get older, you don't eat as much and you start to snack and eat things that you shouldn't. You're filling up your day, which is not a lot of calories because you're not eating much, with food that is just wasted. It's not protein. So if you're older, I use the example all the time. My my wife said, you getting enough protein? Yeah, I had an egg and some peanut butter. Really? Okay, go eat
Yeah.
50 more each of those and then let's talk,
Yeah. Yeah.
But if you get the protein up, and my point with your calories are going to be lower because you're not eating as much as you're older, you have to focus on protein even more because you're not eating as much. And when you're not eating as much, you got to really focus on the protein. Protein shake's a good way to do it. Any last thoughts, Doc?
It's eat a lot of protein. The muscle mass is the best indicator for longevity and lifespan. So it all comes
Absolutely.
down to protein and working out and getting moving. So final
Lift
points, that's what I
weights
say.
and eat protein. Lift weights
Exactly.
and eat lots of protein. Do
Exactly.
those two things and you're going to get on the right track.
Exactly.
All right. So, Doc, if people want to follow you on social media, how do they do that? And you've got this great machine that I'm using like once a week trying to help a injured bicep. How do they get a hold of you?
Yeah, my website and social medias are all atlaschiropractic.us. I have my phone, email on there. You can reach me at any time, essentially. And then we've talked a little bit before, but in Parkway Athletic Club in South Reno, but we're gonna be moving over to the Sparks location soon as well. So that will be a fun future endeavor.
All right. And Dr. Jake is at the Parkway, as he said, in South Reno. So thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me.